Digimon World 2 has maybe the best opening cinematic I've ever seen in a game. And if that's all you've seen of it, then you could easily come to the conclusion that this game is an all-time classic. But you would be wrong. It's almost objectively terrible. It's slow, it's long, it's obtuse, and at no point during its 66-hour runtime do I think to myself, now this is gaming. It's a story-driven, dungeon crawler, monster-catching, turn-based RPG that somehow manages to be less than the sum of its parts. But god damn it, I love this game. Digimon World 2 released in July of 2000 in Japan and April of 2001 in North America, about a year after the release of the first Digimon World. It was a major departure from its predecessor, so much so in fact that I can't help but wonder if this game wouldn't have been better off with a title like Digimon RPG, because with a numbered sequel, you're setting certain expectations of congruency that this game simply doesn't have. It was received poorly with a score of 42 on Metacritic, though a surprising 7.8 user rating. Unrefined at best, said one reviewer. People say the same thing about me. Ridiculously long, but not a whole lot of fun, said another. Well, I've heard half of that. The second half. The rest of the reviews really aren't any better, and I can't say that I disagree. Digimon World 2 sucks, but underneath its many flaws, there's a great game, just beyond our reach. So I'm just gonna say it. Digimon World 2 deserves a remake, or rather, a Digivolution. Most of your time spent playing Digimon World 2 will be inside these dungeons called domains, which you navigate by operating this tank called a Digibeetle. You'll encounter wild Digimon, avoid traps, and collect loot, all while trying to find your way to the top floor by using these floor portals to progress. Now, visually, these are obviously abysmal, but the music goes hard. And there are some good concepts here. I like having to explore, I like that domains genuinely feel dangerous. There are a variety of different hazards you need to be prepared for. Acid floors that cause damage when you drive over them, Elexpores that block your path and are often invisible, landmines that can knock out your Digibeetle parts, rendering them unusable, and bugs that can throw a wrench into whatever plan you cooked up to complete the dungeon. The trouble is that none of this really feels skill-based, it's more RNG. Your Minesweeper is an upgradable part that's supposed to detect landmines, but it's not completely reliable, and you can just step on one that deals more damage than you have health. Back to floor 1, buddy. Or, the game could put one of these return bugs, traps that send your Digimon partners back to town, on the only path available, but you already used the only return bug zapper you brought, so you just have to hope that it doesn't send your whole starting roster back, even though you know it's going to, because that's just what this game does. And before anyone tells me not to blame the game because I was unprepared, if you've played this game, then you already know that the inventory is so limited, you simply can't be prepared for everything. Domains can get pretty long towards the end of the game, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but in their current state, I would say it is. The wild Digimon you encounter get stronger on later floors, but the actual mechanics of navigating don't change, leading to the experience becoming very stale. To make domains more engaging, I think that a remake should introduce skill-based elements into making it to the end. The way it is now, I don't feel like I overcame a challenge, I feel like I got lucky. For example, your Minesweeper shouldn't automatically detect landmines. Maybe you press a button to send out a scan that shows you approximately where they are, and the closer you are when you scan, the more accurate it'll be. Of course, this would need to expend some kind of resource, so you can't just spam it, but we already have a perfectly fine resource, EP. Right now, it's only used when you move, but implementing an EP cost to your Minesweeper, as well as your other tools like the arm that actually disarms landmines, or the missile gun that destroys Elexpores, could add a layer of strategy. Do you want to spend EP to remove this obstacle, or do you want to try to find another way around it? EP then becomes a strategic resource rather than effectively a time limit. Of course, without knowing where the floor portal is, you're just guessing, so it's still mostly luck-based. So I think your minimap could display its location, maybe only once you're close enough. There could be a little blip on the map that flashes, sort of like a hot and cold game. With a system like this, though, I think it would make sense to have fewer, larger floors. You could also add mini-games to disarming landmines and treasure chests. It doesn't need to be complicated. In fact, it probably shouldn't be since you'd be doing it a lot. It shouldn't take more than, 10 seconds. Just a simple puzzle where you flip switches or deduce a missing number. For elect spores, I don't think you need an interactive mechanic. I'm fine with this being a simple item and upgrade check. That being said, you gotta increase inventory space. Not by a lot because there's value in the restriction, just increase the base by 8. Get rid of return bugs. Replace them with one that deals damage to your Digimon every step, or makes them take damage every turn in battle. Hell, have it send items back. Really, anything would be an improvement. Now this one might be a bit of a tall order, but additional goals throughout the domains could be interesting too. Maybe optional things like a mini-boss you can defeat to unlock checkpoints, data logs to recover that were left behind by other tamers that expand the lore, Digibeetle parts you can salvage for upgrades that you can't get from vendors. And while we're on the subject, more Digibeetle options maybe? A big, beefy, high HP, high EP son of a bitch built to get you where you're going come hell or high water. Maybe it moves a bit slower, can't carry as many Digimon, so it's not ideal when you're hunting for new Digimon partners. Then, you can have a faster, more fragile Digibeetle that you can use if your objective is to just XP grind or you're trying to catch some new party members. The downside is that it wouldn't be able to carry as many items or detect traps as reliably, so you wouldn't want to use it for long exploration missions. Battles in Digimon World 2 are 3-on-3 and turn-based, but where traditionally these types of combat systems have you choose a command that executes immediately, followed by the next, you choose all of your commands and then watch the whole thing play out. I get what they were going for, it's supposed to be like a computer simulation, but honestly it just kind of made the whole thing incredibly boring. There are some really good ideas here though. There are 4 types of abilities: attacks that deal damage and inflict status effects, counterattacks that wait for the user to be attacked first, and if they are, the ability gets a buff like turning a single target into a multi-hit, adding bonus damage, or inflicting status effects. Interrupts allow you to choose when in the queue to use your ability, sneaking it in just before an opponent can make their move. Perfect for picking off weakened targets before they can attack. And assists that give benefits to your own party, like heals or buffs. I think for the most part, we keep the system the way it is. But watch this turn and see how much wasted time there is. There's about 3 or 4 seconds of just staring at the idle animation before every attack. The ability animations are a bit long, and then we have to watch the target get hit. It's even worse for multi-hits. You have to watch each target get hit one at a time. Just pull the camera back and show them all getting hit. Now watch this cut without all the bloat. The result is a combat system that feels much more fluid. Less waiting, more playing. I might also add a system like Paper Mario's action commands where you can deal extra damage or block by pressing an input at the right time. Something to keep the player engaged during these long turns. Unfortunately, there are very few tactical decisions to make. The game is generally pretty easy, so the best solution is usually just to deal as much damage as you can every turn. Make battles, particularly boss fights, a lot more difficult, add a variety of new moves, or rework existing ones. There's a ton of identical abilities that really could use some flavor. There is a completely broken strategy where you use healing abilities like HP recovery, which restores 150 HP to every member of your team. Then you spend a few turns using guard, which greatly reduces incoming damage, as well as restores 10% of your total MP, and you have effectively unlimited healing. Diminishing returns on the MP recovery would be an easy way to mitigate the effectiveness of this strategy. I would also add some digital-themed status effects. I'm just not really buying that my digital monster is poisoned. Corrupt data, maybe. Or memory leak that causes you to lose MP every turn. Latency that reduces your speed. There's a lot of untapped potential in this game's digital theming and just the battle system in general, but I think just a few small changes could really tighten things up. Anybody who's played this game knows that Digivolving and DNA Digivolving is a complete shit show. Digimon have 4 stages, starting with Rookie, then becoming Champion at level 11, Ultimate at level 21, and Mega at level 31. But there are level caps, and they are annoying. For example, your starting Digimon begins at level 1 and caps at 13. A wild Digimon you catch at 13 will cap at level 20. At this point, you can't gain any more levels. To increase this cap, you need to DNA Digivolve, which means fusing 2 of your Digimon together, resulting in a low-level partner that is effectively useless until you grind it back up. The new cap is equal to the higher level plus the lower level divided by 5 and rounded down. So level 24 and 22 Digimon will result in one with a cap of 28. As annoying as it is, I don't really mind the level cap system. It forces you to always be on the hunt for new Digimon partners and creates a lot of variety in your party composition. Although it does also force you to constantly grind your team back up to a point where it doesn't get demolished, which is one of the reasons why this game is so goddamn long. The monster fusion concept is an interesting idea, but the way it's implemented, it's basically A plus B equals C. You learn the abilities of both parents, and it influences your stats a little bit, but the history doesn't really matter much. So here's how I would fix it. I think making a Digimon's legacy more impactful is the best direction to take this. Let's say you have Kawagamon, a bug Digimon with nature specialty. I don't think bug means anything other than how it influences DNA Digivolution results, but for argument's sake, let's say it did. Bug type could have a few inherent traits: high speed, low attack, low HP, and resistant to certain status effects. Then you have Seedramon, a beast with water specialty. Beast types could have high defense, low speed, high HP, and be weak against machines. Now, let's say we DNA Digivolve these two, and that gives us Kunamon, a bug. It has dominantly bug traits, but since it has a beast parent, it could gain some of those traits. Slightly higher HP and defense, but maybe a little weaker against machines. Your Digimon would constantly be evolving in meaningful ways, like a Lilymon who would typically be weak to fire, that is strong against it because it has a fire-based ancestor like Garudamon. But here's where I think this legacy system could really shine and solve one of the game's most frustrating problems. Right now, evolution paths make no goddamn sense. Fans of the show might expect Gabumon to digivolve into Garurumon, but they'd be wrong. It actually digivolves into Centaurumon. With zero DNA influence, Gabumon should turn into Garurumon. There's a clear through line between the entire Digivolution chain, but if that Gabumon has a lot of machine-based ancestors like Megadramon, maybe then it turns into Metal Mamemon. Better yet, once certain conditions have been met, stats, DNA history, battles won, virus types defeated, simply unlock it as an option and let the player choose what to digivolve into. These requirements could be completely hidden from the player too, and revealed through things like those logs and the domains that I mentioned earlier. Now, in order to make this system worth the time investment, battles would need to be genuinely challenging, and you'd probably want some kind of accelerated leveling. Maybe the more times you've DNA digivolved, the faster you catch up to your previous level. Throw in some super bosses that demand a well-rounded team built from Digimon with strong legacy DNA, and I think we might just have a game on our hands here, fellas. Now, if only we could make these damn NPCs walk faster. I know Bandai would never do this. Digimon World 2 simply doesn't have the legion of dedicated fans necessary to make something like this a worthwhile investment. But if, by the grace of the Almighty, this does happen, you don't touch one goddamn note of that soundtrack. Fellas, as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time.